Lyceum evening, coming to you from the Paul Christian Spiritualist Church down on the south coast of the UK. Just me tonight. Oh, there we go, 7 o'clock on the ball. So, yeah, just a little look back over this year. Hopefully a little look forward into next year, see what we've got coming up. And as always, your comments, your input, your interaction is always very important to bring up any topics that you want to ask questions about, because that's the whole point of these evenings, is just for people to be comfortable, listen to things, might be a bit challenging, may not be, whatever. So yeah, just sit back and enjoy. So 2025, very nearly over. I know we're sort of like teetering on the edge of Christmas at the moment. It's still November. It's not Christmas yet, but not long. Next Sunday is the first Sunday in Advent, so really the countdown starts from there. The church, we've got the tree up this year. I've done it a little bit earlier because we are quite busy through December. And I've just had a couple of clear days, so I thought, okay, we'll get the tree done, and that's up and running. You'll see that tomorrow. It's rather lovely. But yeah, we seem to be going back into the old ways, and this year seems to have actually gone by quite quickly, even though there's been huge events within our world. It's just suddenly, it's always when the clock changes, isn't it? And when it gets dark at 4 o'clock, it's like, oh, it's winter. It's started. We're here. Probably like a lot of you, I don't do the dark evenings very well. This turning lights on at 3:45 is there. Horrid. But as I say, a little look back over the year. I'll keep switching between this screen and my diary page just to keep me refreshed what we had. We've had some wonderful evenings, wonderful groups meeting here. We hosted the lovely Claudia Widmer from Switzerland back in February, and she gave a really good trance healing development course, and very interesting. So lovely meeting up again with Claudia. She was due to be here for us with Frederick's week, but due to personal issues, we haven't got Frederick this year, but he's back next year, so that's all good. But the tickets are already booked, so she came over, stayed here, had a fabulous time. So that was wonderful. And it's really interesting, this mixing now, this meeting of people from Europe. We hosted Daniela Niehaus, before she writes and complains. And Deanna. They were over here, and again on a healing course, which was really interesting. I actually really, not being detrimental to Claudia, but I just found their style of healing actually really fascinating. So it's been wonderful that healing has been very much at the fore this year. And obviously, the world, ourselves, we're all in need of healing. There's never been a time like this that we're going through. It's like a war without the guns, isn't it? It's very odd. But, and again, it's been really good that we've had some fantastic visitors to the church, alongside our local demonstrators. We have actually got a wealth of local demonstrators who are very well versed not only in the practice of evidential mediumship, but the philosophy side as well, because that's always something very close to my heart. That was my first inroad into spiritualism, was through the philosophical route. And the evidential mediumship, again, just something at the moment that I'm noticing, and it's just, I'm just finding it a bit uncomfortable that still the emphasis within the spiritualist movement is all on the message and very little else. And I know, for example, workshops, the numbers for those are nothing like they were last year. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. I understand it, because money is very tight. We understand that. Those of us on fixed pensions really understand that. But I just wonder, is, we go back before COVID and everything was lovely, wasn't it? And it wasn't really taxing or anything. And we weren't promoted into movement so much. So the message parts of the services or the demonstrations of evidential mediumship were always very popular. And again, I'm not decrying the evidential mediumship. It is a part of what we do. It's not all that we do. And I do wonder, in today's world, people are looking for actually something more from mediums, mediumship, psychics. Because, it's all well and good knowing, somebody in spirit loves you, they're still watching over you. That's wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. But we actually need something else in our world today. We need a little bit more of the opportunity to have a conversation with spirit. This used to be very popular. Was Gordon Higginson. Now, he would do every New Year a trance dem, and it would be talking about the things coming up in the year ahead. And I found that fascinating. And when you think about it, and when you're logical about it, why are we surprised? The other world is the sum knowledge of everything that was, is, and can be. And they're going to have thoughts to share. And that includes not prediction in the way of you're going to meet a tall, dark, handsome stranger, but things about life in general, things of times coming up that may be challenging. Equally, times coming up that may offer a lot of opportunity. When we go right back in the history of spiritualism, well before any organized form of spiritualism existed, the elders and the villages and the tribes would have their mystics. And part of their duties would be to forecast what's coming up. They would forecast times of famine, times of drought, times of plenty, times of war, all sorts of things. And a lot of the tribes and the villages and townships, to a degree, would base their action against the predictions that were being made. So this was always in our root. It's always been in our lineage. Today's world, we're told we're not allowed to predict. We can't do this, we can't do that. So all the time, we've got this whole spirit world like that, but what we do, we keep going, well, we can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that, you're not allowed to do that, can't do that, you can't do. So you end up with a very narrow perspective. I know myself through my own personal, just sitting with spirit and listening and talking and having those conversations. I've had wonderful moments of, I get it now, I understand it now, because whatever is going on, whatever I've been facing or doing or whatever, may have been spoken about in a different way, and it just suddenly clicks and falls into place. That doesn't make me special. It doesn't make me gifted. It just makes me approach spiritualism with more of an open mind. And I would love to see that approach being adopted more, having this openness. You know, we've got to be mindful of how we do it, but getting rid of some of the shackles of the past that have tied us down, getting rid of some of the, oh, you can't do this, oh, we can't do that. Nonsense. Spirit can do anything. The only thing that stops spirit doing things is us. So I'd like to see more of an openness. Also, and equally, I would like to see lovely Ashley. Looks like you had a good course today, Ashley. Wonderful. We're having a tarot course here in the new year, so yeah, absolutely. Ashley Oliver here says, exactly, Laurie, it can be very reductive on occasions when we are all different and offer different insights. So true. I mean, that is one of the things that we celebrate within spiritualism, is the individuality and the uniqueness. Now, when we start to talk about this, we've also got to be mindful, unfortunately, because times of great hardship always create a business opportunity for some people. And I'm noticing a rise in the number of adverts that if you follow my way, you will be successful, and I'm just like, not sure about this. I've said this before, it's going to be inscribed on my grave or wherever, wherever you find my body, that I'm a spiritualist because everything that we do has an evidential root to it. And it's logical, and it makes sense, and it's for betterment, and it's inclusive, not excluding. Some of these different philosophies going along saying, if you join us, you'll be one of the number that will be saved and other people will be left behind. And I just think, really? Wow. That's a bit bold. To put yourself in this social elite. But it's common sense as well. It is common sense. And a lot of things in spiritualism, if they don't sit right with you, that's fine. Do you know what? That is fine. Don't ever feel like there must be something wrong with me because I'm not getting it. If it doesn't sit with you, that's fine. Just dismiss it politely and move on. Unfortunately, with the social media, it seems to be, if it doesn't sit well with you, you've got to stand up and start shouting and screaming and trying to embarrass everybody around you into saying, yes, you're right. I'm sure we all know the ones that we're talking about there. But there is a lot more from the spirit, a lot more, and we are oblivious. And this brings me back to where I was going with the mediums themselves. Now, mediumship, healing, altered states working, philosophical working, these are all faculties. These are all things that you can develop. These are like bolt-ons to you. And I'm just seeing that it does seem to be commonplace, especially amongst the platform mediums, that the mediumship is the be all and the end all. The whole reason I'm here is to be this medium. And for those 90 minutes or whatever I'm working in the public, that's it. That's all there is. And then when those 90 minutes finish, I switch off. And I don't apply anything to my everyday life until I'm booked again, and then switch it back on. And I think, do you know what? I really feel like we're missing a huge trick here. That, your mediumship shouldn't define you. You should define your mediumship. It's a totally different thing. People identify with being a medium, which trickles down to the 90 minutes of being on a platform and delivering messages and then stopping, and that's it. Once you start on your development course, your unfoldment of your mediumship, and however that manifests, be it healing, evidential, altered states, philosophical, it doesn't matter. You're starting that unfoldment. You're starting to develop those links, those bonds with the other world. You are getting closer and closer together. And the thoughts will have the opportunity to become shared if we apply ourselves to it. But also in this route for the platform mediums, there is quite a lack of, what's the word, self-development opportunities. It's one thing to be a medium. It's one thing to get the bookings. They all come up. You get your bookings, got the year. I mean, most mediums have got next year already mapped out. I'm here, then I'm there, then I'm here, then I'm there, then. But there's so much more to it. There really is. Once you start on that route, it's your own unfoldment and your development, your opportunity to do some study. There's an old-fashioned idea. Look into the roots of spiritualism, mediumship, whatever. But really go back in time with it as well. Don't just stop at the pioneers. Because we all vaunt the pioneers, don't we? We all say, oh, yes, well, we'll never have the pioneers again. No, you won't. It's really simple. No, you won't, because they had their time. They came into spiritualism when it was having this huge explosion. There weren't the restrictions upon it that we see today. So we would see different practices, what we call mental mediumship, which is the most commonest form of platform mediumship, was a tiny part of it, really. It really was, because there was so much more going on. They had flower sentience, psychometry services, psychic arts services. They would work very much in the altered states for different topics, different subjects. There was still the trace there of the physical mediumship as well of the time. So no, we won't have the pioneers again, because they were at this gold rush of spiritualism. But what has happened since then, is that everything's started to get dumbed down. Everything's brought down to its lowest common denominator. Everybody's a critic. Everybody's a critic. Oh, they weren't very good today. I've seen them work better, and things like this. And it's... And I feel personally that we have taken our eye off the ball for a wee bit too long now. And we've got this great stagnation going on in a movement that should be really viable, should be really energetic, should be very progressive, should promote conversation, should promote debate. But where are we? Oh, who's on next week? Oh no, I don't like them very much. I'll wait until the week after. He's a much better medium. Yeah. And it's sad. It's saddening. It's not everywhere, thankfully. I know quite a few people who are doing different things, who are promoting this freshness, this revitalization of things. While I'm busy bubbling away, there's lots of you putting in comments, so pardon me. Hi, everybody has said hello. Maggie Baker. Oh, Roy. Sorry, Roy. Change your gender there, mate. Never stop learning, choice or necessity. Yeah. Yeah. This is it. This is very true. Choice or necessity. That's an interesting phrase. We have the choice, but we have become a little bit blinkered into it. There's just so much more. There is tons and tons more. Geraldine. Now, Geraldine and I talk quite regularly, and I know that one day when I'm being arrested, Geraldine will have had a part to play in that. I want to say that now so I can use this in the court case when it comes up. So, hello, Geraldine. She's saying the pioneers were the ones who experimented with spirit. Really good. Thank you. I'm sure if they stopped because someone told them they can't do that, we are no different except for the fact we have stopped experimenting. We should be the pioneers of the future. Yeah. Yeah, try things. We seem to have a fear, don't we, of what if it doesn't work? Well, it doesn't work. So you go back to the drawing board and find out why it didn't work. That's what experimenting is all about. If every experiment produced 100% success the first time round, that'd be boring. We've got to experiment. I've been trying these revival services. In fact, I've got one coming up a week tomorrow where we go back to some of the flower sentience, psychometry. The one coming up is working with photographs in envelopes. So I've just got an envelope and working with those energy. And I've got to admit, the first one I did, the psychometry one, I nearly had my socks blown off by the energy that was going on. And I don't exaggerate things. It was mental. It was absolutely mental. And it was great. And it was fun. And the congregation loved it because it's something new to today's generation. It's something different. And, I'm a great believer that we've got to keep trying these new things, mixing it up. And again, not being frightened of failure. I always say in circle, you don't fail. When you're working in circle and practicing and learning, you never fail. You may not get the results you wanted, but that doesn't mean it's a failure because you were practicing it. And again, it's exactly the same with our service formats, for example. I was very pleased to see a church advertise their divine service, and they were not having any evidential mediumship, and so they were having a Q&A about the 7 principles. Brilliant. I just think that's great. Keep it fresh, keep it moving. We're working with energy all the time. And if we let it stagnate, it will stagnate. It will end up like a little eddy in the backwaters, just gently spinning around. Try things. But as I say, don't be afraid of failure. Obviously, you need to do homework about it. Obviously, you need to research into it. Obviously, you need to practice and make sure that you understand fully what you're going to try. And then go for it. But yeah, I love that, Geraldine. The pioneers were the ones who experimented with spirit. And this is so true because it was all new. There were no rule books. There were no, oh, we don't do that. Oh, no, we don't do that. People went out. And you see, we're lucky enough to be in this age now where a lot of these things have been recorded on video, if not in video in the press. And I know I mentioned this before, and sorry to sound like a broken record, but when you see the reports of the Royal Albert Hall full of spiritualists for a whole day, the rally day, all there, yes, there were Dems, yes, there were demonstrations of healing, yes, there were like this, Lyceums, the talks. There was so much going on, and people were eager, people were involved, wanted to know more because the imagination had been sparked, the attention had been gained. We keep hearing the old war cry, well, we've got to get youngsters in. Well, if we give the youngsters something that they can engage with, do you know what? They probably would come. If we're going to churn out, and I do mean churn out, I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologise for that phrase. If we're just going to churn out evidential mediumship week on week on week on week on week on week, people, we should be aiming to help people and educate people in understanding how that works. And I don't mean make them a medium. How does that work? Why does it work? Why do we do evidential mediumship? Why is that an important facet of what we do? I know we're not some Johnny-come-lately, been going over 100 years as an organised religion. So there's just so much there. Geraldine, what if it does work? Well, it does, surprisingly enough. That's a wonderful thing. Last Sunday, and again, I say things that I've done. That's not for me to say, oh, look at me, aren't I clever? Because I'm not. But I can talk about things that I've done because I've got both sides of it, because I am very critical of what I've done. I know where we can do better. I know if that was unexpected. I know if that wouldn't go the way I thought it was, but actually that was really good. Last Sunday at short notice, I covered the service here at Paul, and I'm going through my mind for the address, and I'm like, it's just not there. So, okay, we just turned it over, questions and answers, and it was fascinating. It was really interesting, and people were left and saying, that was good, I enjoyed that. And we only actually discussed one subject, really, but all the ins and outs of it. Things like that. Celebrate. We've got this wealth of information at our fingertips, and maybe we're not doing it a justice. Maybe we're not doing it a justice. But anyway, that's me off of my hobby horse of the moment. I've been talking to a gentleman, and I'm going to say his name, and I do apologise because I know I'm going to say it wrong. Christian von Sponek. And I've shared a few of his writings, and I really like where this guy is coming from, and I'm ever so pleased that he's agreed to be our guest on the Lyceum, not until the new year, because he's a very busy chap. But he's got some really interesting thoughts on spiritualism in today's world. He did a fascinating piece on why mediumship is suffering because of TikTok. And actually, when you read it, you thought, you've got some really good points there. So there are some really great people out there that I've had the privilege of talking to, working with, whatever, having here on our Lyceum Nights. So I know there is that energy out there. It's just translating it down to some of the churches and centres, and just reigniting the fire. That's a nice thought, isn't it? Reignite the fire. Oh, I like that. I'm going to have a t-shirt with that on. But yeah, we've got this huge potential. I've sat, with the other world and just had my little chats. And I said to them, do you ever get despondent because, it's just endless messages? And the simple answer that came back, and it's always such a simple answer, was we give. And I thought, I get that. Because we here, we're learning to navigate life, the universe and everything through our emotional body, which actually is a pest. It can really get in the way a lot. A lot of the time spirit operate, the emotional body isn't, prevalent. It's not the forefront of things. So it's just a very straightforward. And when they said we give, I thought, I get that. I get that. What I've always said about the give and take energies, two different energies. I give you something, that's fine. I've given it to you because I hope it will help you or do whatever for you. And that's it. What you do with it is entirely your business, and it's not for me to say, oh, hold on a minute, why aren't you doing what I told you? You just give. And then whatever the other people do with it is entirely up to them. So, Esmeralda, wonderful Esmeralda. Sometimes I wonder, as spiritualists, we have the brotherhood of man. How come we don't always have different kind of music from over the world kind of music? If you're talking about young adults coming into a church and they have a different kind of style of music, what's your thoughts about this? Yeah, mix up the music. We do. I say we. I'm very fortunate with Paul that the congregation, they may enjoy, they may not enjoy some of the things we do, but they keep coming, which is great because they're engaged. I do know with some of the other established churches, we did see after COVID new music coming in, but it was, please don't be offended by this. If I hear Spirit in the Sky one more time when I'm taking a service, I may very well just jump off the platform. There is different music. Music is a big part of it. And I mean, you can progress that, Esmeralda, where you've got the younger generations coming in. There's an awful lot of, there's a guy down Paul High Street who plays the keyboards, and he's fantastic. And it's crossed my mind several times to say to him, would you go out and play? Because the music is just brilliant, and he does a really good eclectic mix of genres and everything. And I just thought, do you know what? That is so good. I love that. So yeah, music is a big tool to get people in. But then when we talk about music, we're normally going to apply that into the industry standard of a divine service, and the format of the divine service. So can we not look at the formats of the service? Somebody very, very kindly gave me the old SNU Lyceum manual. Now, I've been going through it, dipping in and out, and there's stuff in there that I like, there's stuff in there that I'm really not sure about, but there's stuff in there I really like. And I thought that would be a really interesting session where you have the responses from the congregation. It's fascinating. And again, it shows, do you know what? We used to do these things, but we don't anymore because somebody has said, oh no, you can't do that because, or oh no, spirit can't. I love that. Spirit can't do that. Really? Tell me. Tell me how you come to that conclusion. But yeah, in the Lyceum manual, there's some excellent parts in there that you can just look at the whole structure. Come on then, Esmeralda. You are fairly new into the movement. You are from Holland, so you're not bound by the structure that we have in the UK that's just become rote. Just that is the way it's done. Design a service for us. I challenge you, Esmeralda, in a good way. Design a service. And tear up the rule book. Don't go back to the standard divine services. Put in there things that you would like. Put in there things that you think would appeal to cross generations. I'd be really interested. I'd be really interested. So poor old Esmeralda came in with a question. She's now got a job. That's fine. Geraldine, thinking about what you said, including the congregation, maybe the service needs tweaking to include them more so they really start to think it's not just them and us. Well, isn't that funny that you just put that in there? And I hadn't read that before. I've just gone on that little thing. Yeah, that is a good point. That is a good point. Because when we look at the what I call the industry standard, the format for the divine service, I mean, that's Orthodox Church, that's High Church. That's where that's come from. And we're meant to be this progressive and living and evolving movement, yet our structure comes from the Orthodox religions. So I know, oh God, I'm getting a bee in my bonnet now. Oh, this is going to be fun. Yeah, a different structure for a service. That'd be fascinating. That'd be really interesting to hear what people think about that. Because, as I say, in the UK, Esmeralda, that is what we were brought up with. From the minute we walked into a spiritualist church to today, the divine service is A to B to Z to D to E, and that's it. Very, very little change. I think probably the biggest change you see in a divine service is the medium will give a reading, then they'll go healing, then they'll do the address, or the medium will do the reading followed by the address and then the healing. And apart from that, not a lot has changed. Not a lot has changed. So I'd like that on my desk by midnight on Friday. Please, Esmeralda. Sorry, darling. Only teasing, you know that. So back to Esmeralda, who's probably hitting the vino by now. That's what I mean. You hear a lot of the same music, but I mean mixing of music from different parts of the world. Yeah. Yeah, there's some beautiful music. We had a really interesting service with Stephen Mager, who was talking about the spiritual quality of sounds. And he got everybody to do the Om as one. And you know what? That was something. That was really something. Totally unrehearsed. Everybody got into it, and it was like, wow, there's power in there. But again, when we see things like this, I would like to see more then of the understanding, because this is the sad thing that I'm seeing in today's world is people are going to this persuasion, this thing, that practice, da 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 da, and they're only just barely touching the surface. You know, some of the sound things that we do, drumming, gong, cymbals, etc. Why does it work? You know, there's a deeper thing to that. Not only the scientific side of things, but also the spiritual side of things as well. And go into these things more, but we don't. We tend to hop from this to that, to this to that, to this to that. And we're not going into it. And again, I saw an advert, I can become a practitioner of a certain modality of healing, which was sound-based for £600. It took me a weekend. Do you know what? What learning am I going to get out of that, apart from a fool and his money are easily separated? We've got to go in depth into things, look into it, understand it. You know, because when we understand things, the effect is magnified. It's going down remarkably well. Oh, good. Esmeralda's still there. That's good. Thank you, Esmeralda. But if you'd like to, I'd be really interested. And you're ideal because you're not of this country. You haven't been indoctrinated of this is the way we do it. So you've got your thoughts. You've got a young family. You know, you've got that freedom of expression, and it would be really interesting. And who knows? Who knows? It could well be a service. That'd be fascinating. Lovely, Ashley. Ashley, I do miss you. And you know what? It's coming up for Lent again. Not Lent, Advent. And every year now I think, oh, Advent. Oh, Ashley. That type of integrated service requires a different type of participation from the congregation, a different type of responsive chairing. You're going to dig at me, love. It is possible. We have done it before. We did it during 2020. We were in the throes of innovation and the art of the possible. We were not constrained. Yeah, really true. I know the online side now of the movement, which is never going to go away. The potential there. I mean, certainly with the music. You know, because when we are on Zoom, it's whatever music you want. But again, it's in that format. So, you know, why don't we look at the format? Why don't people have a think and just think, what would you like from your service? There we go. There's a good question. What would you like from a service? Geraldine, she's really going to get me into trouble one day. That's great. Love it. Think of the energy once the congregation starts thinking, oh, we are and we can be part of this. We talk about brotherhood of man, but still act like it's us and them. Yeah. And a lot of the time it's not intentional, is it? Sometimes it is. I know. I will admit that, honestly. But sometimes it's just not intentional. It's not thought about. But if we are going to, I almost said survive then, and I thought that's a bit harsh, but I will say survive. As a movement, we've got this wonderful opportunity here, and we have the tools, we have that connection to, again, relight the fire. I've got that song in my head now. Yeah, to re-engage people. We should be really vibrant. And we're not. Okay. Could be a bottle of wine open up later and have a thought about you. Missing all too. I love Advent. I shall come over. Brilliant. Thank you. actually did a spectacular series of talks on each divine service in the build-up of the Advent. And it was great. And again, here we are. We're talking about this change, this difference, bringing in the newness, but still not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but building upon what we already have, because we've got so much. Lovely Roy, there are still some people averse to change and hard to change. Integration is definitely the key. Yeah, Roy, I know that, and like you, a working medium, you see that sometimes in places, and you just think, that's, I know I had my route here to bring in the change. We opened up between the lockdowns, and actually that was very, very helpful for us, because and again, I'm not saying this to be big-headed or anything, I think we were probably the only spiritualist church open on the south coast, if not in the UK, between the lockdowns, because 99.9% shut, and that's fine, because they're ruled by what they've got, and that's absolutely fine. It's not a condemnation of anybody. However, because we were open, we suddenly had this huge influx of new people. So that was an ideal springboard to bring in new thoughts, new ideas. We still did have a very small core element of the, how do I say this politely? The very rigid outlook, shall we say. And yeah, there were a few conversations of saying, well, we need to change. And we'd love you to come along with it, but we need this change in there, because we cannot survive by doing what we used to do. A couple of people took it up, a couple of people didn't. That's fine. It was all very amicable. But again, sometimes you see in churches, we seem to have this element of fear within the churches when we want change. Everybody's worried about, what are they going to say? What are they going to do? We can't do that. They won't like that, and it's just always, try things. We seem to be very good at talking ourselves out of things at times. Geraldine, Roy McKay, and that's why they need encouraging to think about change, as there is no progress without change. Exactly. And it's being kind, as again, as I say, you don't chuck the baby out of the bathwater. You don't take the attitude of, well, if you don't like it, don't come back. But it is just explaining that side. 2020, for example, the utilities bill on average was £21 every time we opened the door. Today, the utility bills are now £39 every time we open the door. And that's without doing anything. That's without the fees to the demonstrators. That's without the bit on the side, because we've had a very expensive 2 weeks. Broken my heart here. Everything's gone horribly wrong in the space of 2 weeks, and everything's got a damn great big bill attached to it. But well, part of the joys of owning your own premises. So church has got to survive. One noticeable change, going back to the opening up in between the lockdowns, was, and again, I'm not being rude, I'm not being nasty, pre-COVID, if you had £32 in the collection plate, you knew you had 32 people in the church. I remember our treasurer, bless him, put thoughts out for Pauline, please. The lady who's all been doing all the online chat for the services. She's just had quite a major operation yesterday, so just thoughts out to her, please, all you healers. But anyway, the first collection, I came out and she was aghast, and she went, There's always money in the plate. And again, it's through change. And again, this is not a condemnation. Pre-COVID, it was just sort of like natural that every time you go to church, you put £1 in the plate. And please don't say, some people can't afford it, because a lot of people can. I do know that some people can't afford it, and we do things when that comes to our attention. That is very well managed here at Paul. But there's a lot of people of today's world who go out and spend £4 or £5 on a cup of coffee. So for them to put a £5 in the plate was a no-brainer. Yeah, before 2020, I'm putting a £5 in the plate. Do you think I'm made of it? Oh, the joys. Still, get off that subject. Yeah, and that's Roy agreeing with Geraldine. Don't agree with Geraldine, Roy, because she will start talking to you online and then you will end up in trouble mourning it. She's a bad influence. Love it. But anyway, yeah, so the year. We had our rally weekend. Not fantastically well supported, but again, I think that's just a sad reflection on the state of spiritualism today. We had a really good weekend. We had lovely Susan Hughes over from Ireland, Jason Goldsworthy from Germany. Mark Stone was part of the weekend as well. It was really good weekend, thoroughly enjoyable, lots going on. The records of which are available online. We do have a rally again next year, same weekend, the last bank holiday of May. We've got Phil Dykes and Kerry McLeod are the guests of honour for that one. So looking forward to that. And these are really important to me, because of the talks. The Sundays, all these talks. And hearing these just different aspects of things. And as I said, it's just a shame. It warrants more people coming to them. It really does. It's a fabulous day. We've got a lovely Kath who manages the kitchen, and she gets all the food out every time. Good old Kath. Thank you, darling. Yeah, it's a really good, informative day. It's about the fun as well, because we do a big dem, part of the opening weekend. There will be 2 days of workshops on the Saturday and the Monday with Phil and Kerry. And do you know what? They are really, really good teachers. I think they're currently teaching out in Florida, if I'm correct. A lot of knowledge to impart. We have there we go. We're going in a circle here. I love this. On the last night, we always have this night of experimental mediumship. Now, a lot of mediums, when they hear this and what we're doing, they go, well, we used to do that in circle. Yes, we did used to do it in circle. So why are we doing it on the platform? We did psychometry again, which links in well. We do swapping of links, different ways to make the links and things like that. And it's fascinating. And do you know what? It works. It really, I remember not this year gone, the year previous, Ewan Irvin from Scotland was here, and somebody was working. They'd made the link. I can't remember how, with a lady in the congregation, and I saw Ewan. I thought he was writing something down or jotting away. When the communication had finished, Ewan held up the picture and went, "This is your dad, isn't it?" And the woman went, "Oh my God, yes, it is." And that was spontaneous. That wasn't in the book. It was just allowing spirit through Ewan's mediumship. Went, get your pencil out. You need to draw. It was brilliant. But yeah, it's getting people again engaged with what we do. And I'm really sorry, but endless demonstrations of evidential mediumship is not going to engage people. It may hold them for a time. It may fascinate them for a short while, but after a time, it's like, oh well, is that it? Is that all you got? And this is where we have missing these opportunities to promote the growth of spiritualism. But there are some really good people out there working on this. I know that. And I turn my mind to our overseas friends who have this newness in their approach to spiritualism, and that's fabulous. That really is. I'm so honoured again to be invited out to Holland this year, and I had an absolute ball, and it was a wonderful weekend. And I'm not saying that because it was me. It was a wonderful weekend. Some of the questions being asked were great. They were asking questions and I'm thinking, wow, nobody's ever asked that. That's brilliant. I'd love to hear that. So there is this potential there for more engagement, more growth, and bringing spiritualism back into today's world. Because we do have the tools. We do have the tools. Our philosophy, people say to me, why do you always have good mediums at Poole? And I went, it's not a conscious thing. I just go to people I'm drawn to. But the one thing I always expect, and one thing that I'm very, very rarely let down on, is that at the end of the service, people are going out uplifted, not because of the communications, but because of the philosophy, because of the community. And while we talk about the community, I want to say again a big thank you to everybody who's donated so far to our Christmas fund. And again, really touched that there's a lot of money has come in from Europe, which is absolutely fabulous. Just really, really touched by that. I'm not really touched by getting up at 6 o'clock on Christmas morning and managing to get all these roast dinners out of one oven, but no, well, I'm sure we'll manage. We've done it before. I'm sure we can do it again. And also, this was really interesting. You may have seen all the posts we put out about a week ago, and it was all different volunteer opportunities for the setting up for this, for that, blah, 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 blah. I was gobsmacked by the number of people who are not associated with the church but wanted to help, including students from Bournemouth Uni. And that was a totally unexpected thing and very heartwarming. And of course, when you think about it, it's logical. This time of year, people want to do something. They're looking for an opportunity to help something, because it is that time of year. People have this urge to do things. Unfortunately, we come into a lot of places and it's going to be, oh, you can't go in kitchen unless you're on committee. And what qualification you need to operate a tea towel, I shall never know. But it's just the setting up and the clearing away. Oh, God, I'm so grateful for that. They're taking it all back down and getting it ready for the Saturday night den. But that was absolutely brilliant. That people who've never been here before were contacting, saying, "Can I help?" Just shows when you open the door. And again, please, I am not blowing my trumpet. I'm sharing things as personal experiences, and I can share it because it is a personal experience. You put that out there and people go, oh yeah, I'd love to do that, because they want to do something. They want to do something to help other people. So yeah, put that thought out there, put that advert out there. You need a volunteer. You need a few volunteers for this. You've got a big project coming off in your Churchill Centre. Put it out there. And as again, you're fulfilling a need as part of the bigger community. And these things are ripples as well, aren't they? That's what I always like. These things are ripples. And you never know where those ripples reach. So being a optimist, I always think, yeah, that's good. That is really good. Anyway, that's my thank you. But Geraldine, I think the trick is to ask the congregation what do they want to see and do they want to be more involved. I think the answers will be interesting. Yeah? Yeah? Yeah. Thank you, Roy. You can blow your trumpet. You have done so much. Listen. I do. I feel very honoured and privileged that I am in the position to do it, and it's as easy as that. Especially the Christmas Day thing. Before we started opening, I used to get these little containers, and I'd make up a bloody great big pot of chili and rice, and I'd do this chili and rice and big bag, and I'd be wandering around town looking for anybody sat in a doorway or something, just give them something warm to eat. It's a basic humanitarian thing that you can do. And now that's evolved into having the lunch at the church. It just brings people in that otherwise would be sat on their own. And we've got a couple of posters up in the local hospice and in Paul Hospital. They've got their own posters because I am asking people if they can let us know they're coming, just for numbers wise. That'd be very helpful. But for like the hospital and the hospice, I've put on there, don't worry if it's last minute. It's not a problem. You will be looked after. Because we don't know, do we? We don't know what's going to happen on Christmas Day with somebody. We don't know, if we need to be at the hospice on Christmas Day or whatever. But isn't it nice that even though this unplanned things happen, then there is somewhere you can go. You're not going over the garage and having a croissant and a cold coffee. But again, that's the generosity and the support of the people here. So that's great. But anyway, yeah, all in all, this year, anything else I've missed? What about this? Oh, yeah. We had the wonderful barbecue in August. We do like a barbecue. Yeah, that's always a good bring everybody together time. What else? Holland, goodness. Yeah, bring it up to date. So alongside, various weekends, we are cutting down on the number of weekends. The reason is twofold. Number one, people are struggling. We get that totally, absolutely. And number two, really, I'm only competing with myself down here on the number of courses. So we've just tailed back slightly on the courses. But having said that, we have got, now this was inspired by Spirit. This was not my thinking. And I did have words with them when they told me the name of it. The Legacy course. And that's for the development of mediums, not their mediumship. Again, what we were talking about earlier on about the roots of philosophy with Stephen Mager, the healing within our work with David Powell, the psychological aspects from Lindsay Percival. There's so much there, so I'm looking forward to kicking that one off in the new year. When does that start? Let's have a look. Bear with me, everybody. 21st of March that starts. 2 workshops with Stephen Mager, then David Powell, then Lindsay. So there's 1 workshop a month from March. Oh my goodness, yes. We've got Elaine went to America and met up with these guys in America, and they're coming to the UK. And somehow I got volunteered to organising their programme. Thanks, Elaine. Actually, I'm looking forward to it. I know it's going to be a great deal of fun. That kicks off in March. There'll be stuff in church and stuff at other churches, also out of the area, and a couple of theatre appointments with them as well. I'll be very interested. I've never organised a theatre event before, so that should be fun. So, lots of things. Yeah, Roy loves the barbecue. Hello, Claire. Happy birthday, darling. Yeah, barbecue is always a good day. And it didn't rain this year, so that's even better. Lovely Geraldine, thank you. I don't call myself a pioneer, but I do take a great pleasure in seeing events being advertised that we started doing here. And I'm not claiming ownership or anything like that, because I hope that you'd like the legacy services. I've seen quite a lot of flower sentient services and psychometry services since then. And I just like to think that, because we're doing that at Poole, it's just reignited people who've gone, oh God, yeah, we used to do that. Why don't we do one? Yeah, so they say imitation is the best form of flattery, and long may that continue. But anyway, I was sat here thinking, I've got a whole hour, what am I going to do? And now I'm thinking, I've had a whole hour, and I still haven't really gone into some of the things I wanted to, so that's fun. In the meantime, thank you so much for your attention and input tonight. Thank you too to those people who may watch this in the future. And again, as I always say this, things are said, if you don't agree with it, you know what? That's fine. That's absolutely fine. We don't have to get ratty or shirty or defensive. We can debate about things. Because if we don't debate about things, we don't have growth. And if we don't have growth, again, we come back to the stagnant side of things. If I had an earring then. Ooh, I'm turning into a pirate. So thank you all for being here tonight. That's absolutely flown by. That's wonderful. Have a wonderful evening, wherever you're doing. I know it's a bit grim, but oh well. Not long till spring. Don't forget, you can see our service tomorrow live online. We have wonderful Angie Freeland here, and she's also doing her new book launch. It's her third book. So after the service, she'll be doing her book launch here at the church. So that's lovely. Thank you, Roy. Hello, Leslie. See, she's watching Strictly, that's why she's not been in. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Esmeralda, and I look forward to receiving your thoughts, because I think that could be really interesting. I have had the great pleasure of meeting you and talking with you a few times online, and yeah, I'm just waiting with eager anticipation of what you're going to say. So anyway, have a wonderful evening, everybody. Take care, and we shall see you again next week. Thank you, everybody, and a very good night to you all.